Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon. This is John Suntress. It's awards season, and it's 2020, a new year. Very exciting. I love this time of year because I like awards season. I get to participate. I'm a member of SAG, the Screen Actors Guild. So I get to vote for the SAG Awards. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. And, get to look at a bunch of screeners and Oscar contenders. So I'm really excited about that. That will figure into some of the conversations you'll be hearing this week on Word Balloon. Also great conversations with comic book creators as well. Don't worry about it. But I thank you for listening. As always, thank you for listening through the commercials and not fast-forwarding. It means a lot. Pays the bills. And questions or comments about the show, reach me via email, john@wordballoon.com. Follow me on Twitter @JohnWordBalloon or on my Facebook page under my name, John Suntress, and the Word Balloon Network page. One more spot, and then we'll start the show. Thanks for listening. Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. I am happy to welcome back one of my favorite writers and podcasters and YouTubers out there, the great Jason Inman. You might know him from, he used to work with DC Universe a lot and did a lot of videos for DC back in the day, and also, his own channel as well. He and Ashley Robinson, his wife, they do wonderful work on Geek History Lesson, a great podcast that looks at a character or a team and gives the whole history lesson of them, the runs and the great stories, all the background and stuff. Jason and Ashley have also been making some incredible comic books in the last couple of years, and Action Lab has been publishing them. Books like Science, a very fun book that Ashley and I talked about a while ago, and now they're on the second volume of Jupiter Jet. It's great to talk to Jason again about that, and Jason, Ashley, and I are all hardcore Star Trek fans, so Jason and I can't help but break into a little Star Trek conversation as we anticipate the premiere of Star Trek Picard coming in just a day and a half. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. So I hope you'll enjoy this conversation. Jason Inman talking about his new Kickstarter for Jupiter Jet, a great book that has gotten great fan reaction and professional reaction. Happy to make you aware of Volume 2, and it's a book I hope you support. And that's our conversation for today's Word Balloon. It's all brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners, my supporters, my Kickstarters, if you will, through Patreon, who promote and help me out every month with their contributions and subscriptions. Word Balloon is free, but if you enjoy what I do here and want to help out the cause, you can go to patreon.com/wordballoon. Thank you greatly for your support, League of Word Balloon listeners. Word Balloon is also brought to you by Aftershock Comics. They are shaking things up at your local shop right now. Upcoming new titles. Can't wait to talk to creators about these. John Layman's The Man Who Effed Up Time. Zach Thompson's Undone by Blood. God Killers by Mark Sable. Those are the three brand new books that are coming your way soon from Aftershock to go along with other favorites like Garth Ennis and Gordon Suzuka's Walk Through Hell. There's Baby Teeth with Donny Cates and Gary Brown. Also Animosity, Marguerite Bennett and Raphael Latour. Plus other fantastic books as well from some of my favorite people in comics. People like Phil Hester and Brian Azzarello and Cullen Bunn and Tim Seeley and Paul Jenkins. Go to their website. You'll find full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on how to order these books through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. All right, let's do it, man. Jason Inman, happy to welcome him back. He also wrote the book. You might remember we talked last time about his excellent history of comic book heroes who have military backgrounds, super soldiers, because Jason himself is a veteran and was in Iraq in the early 2000s. And I know that has informed a lot of what he has brought to his writing. And he even talks about a future project that he would like to go. So pay attention, prospective artists. Maybe Jason will find a love connection here, and one of you might be interested in helping him out with one of his ideas. But we're here to talk about Jupiter Jet, Volume 2, the Kickstarter campaign that's underway now, with Jason Inman on today's Word Balloon. Jason Inman, welcome back to Word Balloon, and congratulations on the continuation of Jupiter Jet.
Thank you, good sir. It's always a pleasure to come back to this podcast. One of the best, if not the best, comic book podcast out there, man.
You're very kind. I've gotten to know you and Ash a bit, and I'm glad that we all hit it off as well as we did, and you're always welcome back. So
thank you. You should steal the tagline from Fantastic Four. You know how they always said like the world's greatest.
Oh, that's hilarious.
You should just be the world's greatest comic podcast, and it should be like above your logo.
You're hilarious. That's nice.
Somebody listening to this, make that for John.
Others claim to be, and that's fine. I am content with my content, and it's like, look, if you like what I do here, awesome. That's fine. And if you don't, that's okay too. So it's okay.
I love it, man, because you've sort of evolved. The show has become like just, you and a guy with a mic with a telephone calling comic book pros that you love. And now I feel like you've become the Larry King
I'll take it.
Of comic book podcasts. Like, you're being quoted in all these articles and stuff like that now.
It's insane. And that's honestly, it is ridiculously flattering. Larry King, it's like, oh, really? I'm that old? Okay. Well, I used to get compared to Charlie Rose before he got canceled.
That's true.
Cancel
that's
culture.
True. Yeah.
And I always said, can you make me the Jon Stewart? I'll take the Jon Stewart.
Oh, there you go. You know what? I'd call you the Stephen Colbert. How about that?
I would love that. Seriously, that has been the greatest, I wouldn't call it a surprise, but I'm so glad that he just, fit in immediately when he, switched from doing the O'Reilly routine on Comedy Central to doing a straight-up talk show. And he is so multi-talented, and I love not only the celebrity guests he has on, but, when he had the guy on who was the CEO of Uber, and they had a really good conversation. I mean, it's a smart... I appreciate the comparison. I will take that, because I think his show is a smart but fun show.
Oh, yeah, Stephen Colbert, correct?
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure we're still on the same track.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
No.
We jumped through a lot of late-night hosts there.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, Steve, dude, a lot of people might not know this about me, but I have a weird fondness for late-night broadcast television.
How far back does your history go?
Oh, not that far, man, because I'm super young. But I can remember Johnny Carson on the air.
Good stuff.
I have a weird story. I can remember the final night that Johnny Carson did his final Tonight Show.
Go on.
And we lived in, middle of nowhere, Podunk, Kansas.
Okay.
And at the time, my oldest sister is about 3 years older than me. My youngest sister was still a toddler. And my older sister and I were just fighting, going crazy. And I could tell that my parents really wanted to watch the final Carson. They wanted to see the final Johnny Carson.
Sure.
And we always knew us kids had done bad when they would tell us to leave the house and go sit in the barn. Now, I know everybody out there is probably like, what? These parents sent the kids to the barn? Well, I mean, it's like 100 feet away from the house. We lived in a Kansas farm. So my mom and dad were like, go sit in the barn and think about what you did, and we'll maybe tell you that you can come back and watch Carson. And I could remember the whole hour up until his final broadcast, me and my sister being like, oh man, you think they're going to let us watch it? I don't know.
That's excellent, man. I actually got to watch a taping of the Carson show and a good, 10 years before his final show.
How was he live?
It was amazing. It was fantastic. It really was. And they have a whole shtick where the band comes out first, plays a number, and then Doc is funny and talking, and then Ed comes out, and they do a little shtick together. Oh, even before that, shame on me, the producer, Fred DeCordova, came out, and he did some routine before they introduced the band. And then, Ed does some shtick, and then finally the show starts, and boom, there's Johnny. It was great, and it was amazing. Charles Grodin was one of his guests.
Oh wow, man! If you were to tell people, do you think if you walked out into the street right now and grabbed anybody that was staring into their cell phone, staring at Instagram, and you said Charles Grodin, do you think they'd have any idea who you were talking about, or you think they'd just be like, oh, the dad from Beethoven?
That's exactly where I was going, just in case people didn't know what I was going to say. The dad from Beethoven.
Well, he had a talk show too.
He did in the 90s, absolutely he did, and he was very weirdly interesting. But he did the original Heartbreak Kid from the 70s that Ben Stiller remade with Silk Spectre.
Malin Ackerman?
Malin Ackerman, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So he did the original in the early 70s with Sybil Shepherd when Sybil Shepherd was young and the ingenue of the moment. And it's a great movie. And he's made a lot of other, he's great. He's great in his 5 minutes in So I Married an Axe Murderer, the Mike Myers movie.
Oh, yeah.
But it was Charles Grodin. I'm building up because I had no idea who I was seeing at the time, and now it blows me away. So it's him, Victoria Principal from Dallas, and hair product and makeup infomercials. and stuff, but a lovely woman at the time, and I think obviously during the height of Dallas, and a young comedian I had never heard of named Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, it was like the third time he was on The Tonight Show.
Oh, man.
It was crazy.
By the way, I also love that I have just completely derailed this comic book podcast into late-night television. I love it.
Well, first of all, you know who you're talking to, so tangents are always welcome on Word Balloon. That's great. Well, and also, I was going to say, because I've seen the commercials for it, I guess CNN is going to do, like they've done History of Comedy and the decade shows that they've done, they're going to do a History of Late Night in the spring.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm just like you, although because I'm decades older, not only do I know and remember Dick Cavett in his prime and some of these other people, but I'm fascinated by Steve Allen and Jack Parr and what they brought to late night, before Carson really kind of made it his own, and especially Jack Parr.
Who's the guy? For me, he was on after Letterman. He was an elder gentleman.
Tom Snyder.
Tom Snyder. God, I couldn't pull his name. I remember him as a kid and not enjoying him very much. But now I look back at some of his interviews and I'm like, oh yeah, you were really good. I mean, you got to realize that, like, me growing up in the '90s, I look at Tom Snyder and I see his still wearing his '70s faux pas haircut in the '90s. And immediately I'm out. I'm just like, this guy,
of course,
he's so out of touch.
Ancient as hell, absolutely. And it was pretty cool that Letterman, because Letterman replaced him in the 80s.
Yeah. And then Letterman brought him back.
Yeah, which is like the incredible cool guy move of Letterman to do that. And I know that, like, Snyder initially obviously resented the hell out of Letterman and was a very egotistical guy. And then Letterman gives him like another 10 years of a career. I think that's fantastic. And no, Snyder, go back and see some of those crazy Snyder shows from the 70s. He interviewed Charlie Manson. He interviewed the cast of the original series Star Trek in the 70s. Now, the conventions, you're all very popular now. That's pretty amazing. And Harlan Ellison's with them.
Yes, yeah. There's also a very famous interview like that. I want to say it's the Tom Snyder interview where Shatner says, like, he doesn't like Star Trek. and he's wearing the giant 70s collar. And, yeah, William Shatner's like, I don't know if I'll come back. It's like before they announced the movie.
Sure. Yeah, that's around the time. Absolutely, man. Wow. No, that's great. And God, he would have, even on his 90s show, Harlan Ellison would come back. And great conversation. Seriously, he really liked Ellison, clearly. So that was pretty neat. That's why Snyder was cool. He'd have interesting guests on.
I never met Harlan Ellison, but my wife, Ashley Robinson, apparently met him several times when she used to work at Blast Off Comics in North Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
Because the former owner of Blast Off, which is now Collector's Paradise in North Hollywood, managed his collection, or as they described it, managed his cellar of comics. Because apparently it was some sort of weird bunker.
Well, he had secret panels in his house. I know that, with like fake library bookshelf. And he would, I don't know how, flip a switch or whatever, but yeah, like secret passage into like secret rooms and stuff.
So he was a supervillain. That's
kind of. Right? Yeah. I know he and Len Wein were good friends, which is pretty cool.
That tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. That guy, I miss Len. Len was awesome.
Len was a super nice guy. Yeah. I remember one of my very first interviews I ever did, and this was before I worked for DC. I interviewed Len Wein at WonderCon. I remember being so excited. It's like 2012, 2013.
Sure.
I had just started my YouTube channel.
Okay.
And I knew Len had probably been asked every question under the sun. So, and you can find this video. It's still on my YouTube channel.
Oh, cool. Yeah, tell people your YouTube channel for people.
Oh, yeah, youtube.com/Jawin, Jawin. Yep. I barely do anything on it right now because I have a full-time job. But if you search back through the archives, you can find this interview with me and Len Wein. And so my question, my starting salvo was, so Len Wein, you have basically created every comic book character that anybody cares about. Is there any character out there that you've never written? Because you've written everybody.
Sure.
And his answer was Doctor Who.
Oh, that's interesting, and that's great.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And then I think he ended up writing Doctor Who.
That's a good question. I'm not sure of that, but yeah, no, that's amazing. And what a cool guy. I loved when he was on the Nerdist Comics Writers podcast.
Yes.
And stuff. And I love, and I'll tell the story, Chris Claremont was being kind of his usual arrogant self and kind of lousy to the other guys from the Comics Writers panel. They were all on a panel together in one of the, like it was either Denver or Phoenix, I forget where, and Len was on the panel with them. And Len, and I'm paraphrasing it completely, but basically Len's message to Chris was, hey, if you're, because, all of them were, aspiring, Adam Beecham, and goddamn it, now I'm blanking on my buddy that's from Chicago and everything that writes all the animation.
Seeley?
Which one?
No. I was going to throw out Tim Seeley.
No, not Seeley. No, and he's an LA guy, and he's been writing a lot of DC animation and stuff. God damn it. He wrote the Bizarro comic about Bizarro and Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, Heath Corson.
Heath Corson. God damn it.
Yeah, Heath Corson's amazing. I love him.
So, sweetheart guys. And I don't know if Bernardin was with them, but I know it was definitely Adam and Heath and Len. And Chris Claremont was, hey, my dick's the biggest dick here. And Len, essentially, that was kind of his arrogant tone. And Len, like a mama bear, because he liked these guys and obviously was on their show, was like, hey, Chris, you really want to get into a dick measuring contest? Let me whip mine out. Sit the fuck down and be nice to my friends. Exactly. I'm Len fucking Wein. And, Len, and it was great. And it was all polite conversation, but the tone was there where it's like, guess what? Don't even start. These are good guys, and they don't deserve your bullshit.
You merely adopted.
Yeah, man. No, they were, and that's the thing. That's the beauty. That's how great Len was and everything. No, man, he was a good dude. See, this is all comics related.
It's crazy. So Crisis on Infinite Earths, the giant CW crossover just aired, right?
Yes, go on.
And you haven't seen the last two parts of it.
I confess I have not. I'm aware of the Ezra Miller crossover cameo, but that's about it.
Well, I'm going to give you another tiny spoiler.
No problem.
Because it fits into this conversation. There is an amazing, astounding moment where Marv Wolfman cameos.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
He cameos in a scene with Flash and Supergirl, the two characters, that he killed. And
it's true.
He comes up and asks them for an autograph. And there's a line that he says where they're like, oh, who should we make this out to? And he goes, make it out to Marv. And I'm like, oh, that's so amazing.
That's fantastic. Good for him.
I was told there's also I bring this up because I feel like Len Wein probably would have been in that too as the editor of the original Crisis.
Probably, if he was still around, unfortunately.
If he's still around.
Yeah.
And I heard that they tried to get George in there as well, but George was too sick to travel.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah.
But they shout him out. They have the final battle is at like Perez Park or something like that.
Oh, funny. That's cool. Well, I'm glad we're talking about this because I haven't talked to him recently, but last year, 2 years ago. Yeah, it wasn't 19, it was 2018. Mark Guggenheim was at Terrificon in Connecticut, and I was there, and we shared the limo back to the airport after the show was over, and we were in traffic for like an hour and a half. And among the things we were talking about was how excited he was for this crossover now, and that he's like, we finally got the green light to do what we really want to do. And he goes, I can't believe it. He goes, we've been like begging for cameos and stuff like that, and he goes, it just was this evolution of the network finally being like, okay, we get it now. Yes, let's do it. So that's great. So I'm so thrilled, and I've loved the 3 parts that I've seen so far.
I mean, I loved it, man. It was so comic booky, and it was so like just a perfect celebration of that universe. I mean, are there a lot of parts of it that are kind of wonky? Yeah, but like so are comic books, and
sure.
And to me, I go into those crossovers just hoping to see those characters talk to each other, and shake hands. That's all I want. I agree. I don't really care what the plot is, to be honest with you. I just want the Flash to meet Black Lightning, and then I go, wee!
100%. But also, God, for, the 3 episodes that I saw, first of all, Kevin Conroy, what a great performance. And how cool was it that it was such a significant performance and not just a cameo? That was excellent.
Yeah. Like I mean, I saw people change their minds, and they very quickly were like, "Oh, he's the best live action Batman." And I was like, "Slow your roll, guys." But he was pretty great.
He was up to the task, and I mean that was terrific. I wish, and again,
the man with the Juilliard, of course, he's up to the task.
Well, yeah, well, no, you're right about that. Shame on me, but
I didn't bought him as Bruce. I apologize.
Yeah, you bought no, it's all good. You bought him as Bruce Wayne. Absolutely, he was fantastic, and Brandon Routh. I was just, and I get it, and I appreciate the juxtaposition of having him die in Supergirl's arms as he did, as, Kingdom Come Superman. But that said, it's like, oh, I wish they would have, extended it just a little bit longer, because it was so much fun seeing him, and with the John Williams music and every moment, it's like, you remember that, even, I always make the George Lazenby comparison in a positive way, where I'm like, George Lazenby, yeah, he wasn't, and actually, shame on me, because Routh is a better actor than Lazenby was. But I'm saying, maybe he was underserved by the script. He's the anti-George Lazenby, because I think On Her Majesty's Secret Service is one of the better Bond films. But I think, unfortunately, I think Lazenby isn't the actor that Moore or Connery was in that era. But again, that said, it's great. And yeah, I think Routh proved that it's like, oh, no, he's a really, really good Superman if you give him the right story. And he looked great. He looked fantastic.
Well, I also think he just was better. I just think he's grown into a better actor. I mean, it's kind of like all of us. I kind of hope that we all get better. Right?
Yeah. No, I feel the same way.
He's just become a better actor. So he was 26 when he played Superman.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a hard role to play at 26.
I completely agree with you. Well, and even after that, he was great on, Chuck, when he was on Chuck and everything that year. So, no, I think you're right. And he's a great Ray Palmer. I think that's terrific.
Yeah, I think he's quite good. I've enjoyed the thing immensely. I mean, also for me, I've enjoyed Arrow since the beginning. Arrow is just a fun time.
Yes.
Even though it's Batman Begins, Green Arrow, but
yeah.
I mean, they've done a lot with that character, and they've made a lot of people. They've made a whole generation of fans. For the next 20 years, there are fans, or there are people that are going to buy Green Arrow comic books and watch Green Arrow cartoons and go to whenever that Green Arrow movie happens, because Arrow ensured, I think, that it's going to happen.
I hope so.
For 20, just like a whole generation has been inspired by Teen Titans Go.
Yes.
There's going to be a whole generation inspired by this Arrowverse that are going to love Green Arrow, and that's a good thing, man. And I don't know, I just dig it.
Yeah, no, I'm happy as hell that it worked out as well as it did, and I feel the same way, and especially as a longtime Green Arrow fan as well. So no, I've enjoyed the Arrowverse very much, and I enjoy all the shows. I got to be honest, Batwoman is fine. I'm just kind of okay with it, though. I have to. I mean, it didn't grab me. Black Lightning blew me away, and I continue to say, I think if the Black Panther film hadn't existed, a lot more people would be talking about how great Black Lightning is, because I think it is such a triumph, and I'm so thrilled with the way that it just so well connects to the comic book, and the comic book literally could be the prequel to the series, and you go back to those 70s stories, and they easily, could be Jefferson Pierce's story, but either way, comics or TV.
I 100% agree with you. I think Black Lightning is astounding. I haven't had a chance to watch Batwoman.
Okay.
Because I just haven't had the time. But Black Lightning, I just think it's stellar. It's so stellar.
Yeah, I mean, and all the ingredients are there for Batwoman. For whatever reason, the recipe doesn't work for me, because they do. They have a lot of things in it that are from the comics, and they are reasonably consistent with the comics. They're a little different. I don't think it's the difference that bothers me. I don't know. There's just something missing. I love Doug Ray Scott. I think he's great on the show, and
the original Wolverine.
Exactly, attaboy. Of course. Absolutely, man.
How mad do you think he is at the Mission Impossible franchise that he lost Wolverine? Do you think every time a Mission Impossible movie comes out, Doug Ray Scott is like, you mother effers?
I do wonder about the near misses of various people and stuff, and who could have been on whatever. God, I didn't know until recently Ray Romano almost had Joe Rogan's part on News Radio.
Whoa, what a change that show would have been.
Absolutely, yes.
Wow. Joe Rogan's really good in that part. News radio, underserved, man. It's such a good show.
Underrated. I completely agree.
Excuse me.
Yeah, man. No. I'm totally with you. I agree. I think this, and God, I love. And now I'm blanking. Jimmy James.
Stephen Root.
Stephen Root. Not only a great Klingon in the Unification two-parter.
Yes, he
Generation. He is such a chameleon. He can do anything.
Yes.
He really is great in every role, and just morphs into whatever you need. I mean, God.
Have you seen Barry?
Of course, and he's excellent in Barry.
Yeah, Barry is like one of the best. I was a little worried about Barry because as a veteran, I'm always a little leery.
Oh, sure.
About how certain things are portrayed. And there were a couple of things in the first season that kind of bothered me. I enjoyed the first season, but I think that the story they told in the second season with like how Barry deals with his trauma and how it's all about Barry's first kill. I thought it was excellent. I thought it was so good.
Well, again, Bill Hader. I mean, that guy's a genius.
Yeah,
really.
Who would have thought, man?
Now, as a veteran, I'd be interested. I literally yesterday was rewatching his SNL bit where he's got his puppet Anthony.
Oh, I laugh at it, but it's 100% like a Vietnam vet joke.
Yes.
It's like that. I feel like that character is the guy that you saw in comedy movies in the 80s.
Interesting.
That was who the vet was in the 80s. Like, I don't think that's a modern vet. That's very much like a Vietnam era vet. The guy who loves MASH.
And his stories are Vietnam and Grenada and I mean, decades ago. So I can appreciate that.
I laugh at it. I think it's pretty fun.
I loved when he was making out with the puppet as much as his puppet was making out with the puppet.
Oh yeah.
So it's just, I mean, it's just the crazy stuff like that. But no, I have to confess, I did find it funny. So I'm glad to see you found it funny.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
Good,
100%.
Jesus.
Oh,
well,
man.
all right, good tangents. See, we got the tangents out of the way. Now we can get into the hard sell and everything.
Yeah.
So Jupiter Jet Volume 2. Tell me about this next chapter. Well, remind people of Jupiter Jet, first of all.
So Jupiter Jet is our all-ages adventure comic series. We like to say it's, Rocketeer meets Men in Black meets Kim Possible. It was published by Action Lab in 2018, and it got nominated for a Ringo Award last year for an best all-ages comic, which was great, and we were very thankful for that. And we've been asked for the last 2 years, when are we going to bring Jupiter Jet back? When are we going to bring our 16-year-old girl with the jetpack back? And we're now doing it. We're bringing it to Kickstarter because I'm not certain when this will air. So it's either currently going or it's in the future.
How much time? Well, I was going to say, because I was planning on putting this out. We're talking on a Wednesday. I was planning on putting this out either Friday or Monday.
Oh, put it out Monday.
Okay. We'll wait.
Yeah, so it comes out tomorrow,
Monday.
everybody.
There you go. Okay, that's when the Kickstarter begins, is on Tuesday.
It comes out, great. January 21st, a Tuesday, is when it's going to hit Kickstarter. JupiterJetComic.com is the place that'll take you right to it. Of course, it's all over my social media if you go to @Jolin. But the sequel's called Jupiter Jet and the Forgotten Radio. So we're pushing her story ahead a year, because the thing that we didn't tell everybody when we wrote the first one is that it's our plan, just like the Harry Potter franchise, to age our character a year.
Interesting.
So, and we've always wanted to do 5 volumes of Jupiter Jet. So the last volume, Jackie, will be 21. Jackie is Jupiter Jet. So this one, she's 17. The big cliffhanger of Volume 1, which I won't spoil here just in case you haven't read Volume 1, changed her entire worldview.
Yes. And
kind of got her involved more with the resistance of 1935, because there are aliens about in this book. And she's been working with the resistance for about a year, and she's very much gung-ho. She wants to fly out into space and fight the aliens in space, and it's about everybody in the resistance thinking, hey, you need to slow down here. You need to plan things. You need to think about the consequences. And, of course, like all 17-year-olds, Jupiter Jet doesn't want to think about the consequences at all. She wants to go out there, punch everybody in the face, and consequences be damned. And she's going to learn the hard way that, consequences are real. And at the same time, she has a sidekick, her younger brother, who
I was
is
going to
now
ask what's happening with her younger brother. Absolutely.
Yeah. Chuck, her 11-year-old brother, and his cat Puddles, who, if you go to my wife's Twitter right now, we based Puddles, who is a golden tabby, on our golden tabby, Brago, named for Aragorn's horse in The Lord of the Rings. Yes, we're nerds. But the thing that me and my wife, because I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, me and my wife co-write this book, so it's very much a project of love, Ashley Victoria Robinson. And the little brother, Chuck, he finds the titular forgotten radio. Kind of like the way in Volume 1 they found the jetpack that set off the entire course of Jupiter Jet in a mysterious lab of their father's. Mm-hmm. Well, they find another mysterious lab, and in this is a mysterious radio that kind of has some tinges of artificial intelligence.
Interesting.
It's kind of aware. Maybe a little bit too aware for 1936. And that sets off, of course, the ultimate, I would say, journey of her little brother to finally earn the right to be Jupiter Jet's sidekick. Okay.
Because he's kind of her gadget fixer, right?
Yeah, he says right now he's sort of like her Lucius Fox, and we want the ultimate goal is to get him to be Robin.
Okay.
And he'll come pretty close by the end of this book.
Cool.
So if a Batman and Robin Rocketeer series sounds great for you, well then Volume 3 is going to be right up your alleyway. But we got to fund Volume 2 first, and that's why we're doing it through Kickstarter, because we've talked about Jupiter Jet here before.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of people ask us, they're like, well, why doesn't Action Lab pay for it, and why doesn't that? And I think if you're listening to Word Bloom, I think you might know that independent comics are very expensive.
Yeah.
We're not even paying ourselves for this Kickstarter. We are only paying our collaborators, which is we're teaming up again with Ben Matsuya as our artist again, so we want to make sure he's paid a living wage.
Sure. Great artist, by the way. Beautiful artist.
He's great, and he's gotten better. He's gotten so much better since the second volume. Liz Kramer is our amazing colorist. She worked most recently on Going to the Chapel for Action Lab.
Oh, wow, sure. Absolutely. I got to talk to David about Going to the Chapel still.
Yeah. And then we teamed back up again with the amazing and the astounding Taylor Esposito, who is, I think, the best letterer in comic books.
Cool.
And then the cover again is by John Boy Myers, the fantastically talented John Boy Myers.
Yes.
Who is just criminally underrated. And then one of the things we have on the Kickstarter, which is we did on Volume 1 again, we went to one of our favorite comic book artists in history of all time, I guess, if you want to go throw in some Infinite Worlds there. I don't know how to tout her. Nicholas Scott.
Yay!
Nicholas Scott did another print for us, which you can get if you come over and help out in the Kickstarter and stuff like that. But
fantastic! That's great. I love her. She's
so astounding, and We've been messaging her a lot lately because we've been like, please don't burn away.
Yeah, no shit. Honestly, I literally today was thinking about her and Tom Taylor and some of my other Australian friends, and I'm like, God, shame on me. I really haven't checked in with everybody. Is she doing okay?
She's doing fine. She's doing great. They're far enough away from everything.
Good.
So,
well, that's good for them, and I'm really glad for her and Craig. I mean, that's terrific.
Yeah. So like, her and John Boy are like our good luck charms, so we brought them along for the Kickstarter in this one as well. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
God, we were talking off the air, and Rob Burnett was on recently, and I've been watching ever since he's moved his operation to his little Robservatory, as he likes to call it. Mm-hmm. And he's got that great Crisis image behind him, and I'm like, what is that? He's like, oh, that's they collected all the Crisis, stories from the Silver Age to modern day. And there's like a whole big 15-volume set, and he goes, Nicholas Scott redid the Perez shot. And It's that, shot of Superman with Supergirl in his arms. And I'm like, oh, that's Nicola. Of course it is. That's amazing. And it's beautiful. It's a great shot.
She is just astounding. Like,
yeah.
I so want her to draw Superman. Like, I know she has in the past, but like, I want Nicola Scott to get a 25-issue run on like Action Comics or Superman or something.
No, that'd be great. Oh no, and I'm sure you feel the same way. Those wonderful anniversary cover shots with all the iterations of Batman and Superman that she's done in the past. And you just get the different flavors of both characters as they've been, like here's a Kurt Swan looking Superman, here's a Joe Shuster looking Superman. And no, she's brilliant. I mean, she does a really good job about sneaking ones in there that they don't really want. You can kind of tell they don't want. Like I love that she always sneaks in like her Earth 2 design. I was gonna say I appreciated her Earth 2 design more than the one that they went with in the regular series, and it's like, I take that back. Instead of the New 52 or whatever it was, and I'm just like, oh man, they blew it. They should have gone with Nicola's design for the New 52 instead of that kind of. I always said the wing collar or V-neck collar Superman. It essentially was Monel with Superman's colors, and they even changed his haircut too. Oh yeah, pretty much, man. That's Monel in a Superman suit. I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me. That's pretty much. Yeah, Monel. Monel always had a great costume. He had a great costume in the mid 2000s where he was replacement Superman, where they inversed the colors. Yes. Do you remember that? It was like during the whole New Krypton. Yes. Oh, seriously, that was like one of my favorite parts of New Krypton was like, all right, I got to see what General Zod's doing. I need you to like watch Metropolis for me, Monel. Let's get you out of the negative zone or the Phantom Zone. And it's just like, oh, that's fantastic. I've always been a fan, and it's so funny. I was talking to Bendis about how he's going to portray Monel in Legion, and he's like, because of Supergirl, I've made him a little more arrogant because of the way that he was portrayed in the Supergirl TV show, and I get it. Yeah, and I'm like, oh man, well, and it kind of fits with the way they've made the Daxamites the Romulans to the Kryptonians Vulcans, basically. Oh yeah, sure. And I kind of get that, and I like that idea that Daxam is a little more, kind of shitty and maybe not as cool as like good-hearted Kryptonians should be. So I get that, but I always thought Monel should have been the exception. And especially because, again, I go back to the Silver Age where it's like, oh no, man, that's like Superboy's older brother. He's awesome, and he's a good dude. He's a great dude. So I don't know, I'm conflicted, but I love Monel. He's amazing. It's fine. Although I come from the Monel era of Valor. Sure. Where like he's called Valor. I kind of weirdly and I like the weird M costume where he had a giant red M on his chest with stars. And I've been saying recently that they should rename Connor Kent, and this is not my idea. I stole this from somebody on Twitter. I can't remember. I think Jamal Igle maybe who said this. I think they should rename Connor Kent, the clone, the Reign of Superman. Yeah. They should rename him Valor. That's cool. That'd be cool. Because otherwise we have two Superboys. That I know, and that's really. Other than calling him Connor, I always wonder what the hell you are going to call Connell. So that's fair. I understand. I still haven't watched the second season of Titans. I've watched most of it, and I like that Nightwing's costume shows up. All right. There are some good moments in there. There is some really good moments in there. I think their Deathstroke is amazing. Cool. It's kind of crazy that we've casted. Warner Bros. Has now casted 3 live-action Deathstrokes, and they're all pretty awesome. Like I think all 3 of them have been pretty damn good. This is Isai Morales is the Titans Deathstroke. Oh, interesting. He's really interesting. He's a great actor. I love Isai Morales. He's so good. He's so good. And I really think that Brendan Thwaites, Dick Grayson, really. I think he figures it out. Like this is the season where like for me he becomes Dick Grayson. I'm like, oh, there he is. Okay. There's just some plot lines where I think some heroes act not to their intelligence level. Okay. All right. But like I think they do some really good stuff. Like I enjoyed it much more than season 1. Okay, because I'll say a handful of season 1 episodes I really, really liked. Mm-hmm. And when people were asking me and were like, oh, I'd like to see an episode of Titans, I'd always, when it was only season 1, I would put on the Jason Todd episode, which I thought was fantastic. And that's really pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, and I really liked the way they wrote Jason Todd, and also in contrast to Dick and everything. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And especially Jason at that moment, who is still very much drinking the Batman Kool-Aid and everything, which is, that was cool. And he gets He gets a lot of cool stuff to do in season 2. I have no doubt. That's excellent. And I even Brian Edward Hill wrote that one episode that I really thought was a good kind of shocking episode. And the Doom Patrol backdoor pilot was fantastic.
Doom Patrol is the show that nobody's talking about, and everybody should be talking about it.
It was the best. It truly was I mean, and I liked Swamp Thing fine. I finally watched Swamp Thing. But no, I agree with you. Hands down, it was like, oh, I cannot believe how great Doom Patrol is and how on the nose it is in terms of what they're doing. Oh, it's just so great. I do think that was the best. That's been the best of the DC Universe shows. So, and I like the Harley cartoon. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch the Harley cartoon. I
have not had a chance to see that one, but I've heard it's pretty great.
It really is.
He says, yeah.
Yeah, and it's Rick and Morty, dirty funny in a good way.
Yeah.
So, a great cast. Good Lord, amazing cast. And just really funny characterizations of everybody. No, it's very Venture Brothers, Rick and Morty smart. And making fun of the DC Universe in a great, smart way of like these guys understand these characters and are bringing the funny, and it all works. So, no, I'm really happy for Patrick Schumacher, one of the showrunners, because he did Powerless on NBC, and he came to Powerless. He came to Powerless late. It wasn't his concept, and he and his partner they did Shit My Dad Says, the Shatner CBS show.
I remember that. I remember the Twitter account, but I never watched the show.
I never watched the show either, and it didn't last long enough to really get any traction. But he's always like been in the wheelhouse of first Fox and then, first NBC Universal. Although I think it was a Warner Brothers thing. Like Warner Brothers has always respected him and his partner, and even though Powerless didn't work out, it was like, no, we're keeping you guys around. And then Harley happened, and I'm thrilled for him because I really do think Harley is a great show, and I'm really happy for him. He did that Adam West. He was running things for Powerless when they did that Adam West episode.
Oh wow!
And I don't know if did you watch that one?
I did see that was like one of the few ones I saw.
Sure. Well, and it was on YouTube, and it sucks because they pulled it off of YouTube. You can buy it on iTunes, and that's a shame because I think that's the closest to what they were trying to do as far as episodes go. And it's a shame because if they had started with that tone and that idea, I think the show would have lasted longer, and also probably would have benefited from being a streaming show versus an over-the-air network show.
There's a lot of shows like that, though, but it's kind of the same thing with like anything you write. I think even with comics, even with like a book or a television show, it always takes, especially with a television show, it takes like your first season to figure out what the hell the show is. And
100%, yes.
Yeah. Especially, like, look at every Star Trek show. Every Star Trek show has a bad first season.
Oh, yeah, or clunky at best. Absolutely. Yeah.
Because it takes about, I would say, 10 episodes for the original series to figure it out.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, no, and, again, I think there's a lot of good stuff in the first season. But no, well, and again, it goes back to, the differences of the original series to the pilot and stuff. And this, and I'll just leave it at this, the fascination Discovery has with Spock smiling. And it's like, they were figuring things out, man. There's no mystery there.
He didn't know. My favorite, the original series story is, and it comes from my favorite original series episode, which is the Corbomite maneuver.
Classic.
I love it just because I love that Kirk poker bluffs a giant Addams Family type monster guy. Baylock is so fascinating.
Absolutely, man. Clint Howard.
And that's probably why it's a good thing they don't let me run Star Trek, because I would just bring Baylock back. I'd be like, we're going to do a whole season of Baylock, and they'd be like, stop it. And I'd be like, we're going to build this puppet again.
Oh no, exactly. And you bring back Clint Howard now.
Yeah, right.
At 60 whatever, exactly.
And Bailey, that terrible ensign guy that goes with him.
Oh yes, that's
Bailey
right.
comes back.
That's right, Bailey. Fantastic. That would be excellent, man.
I believe there's a Star Trek book about Bailey coming back. But anyways,
that's hilarious.
My favorite TOS story is because they filmed most of that first season out of order. So I think Corbomite Maneuver was like the third episode they filmed, even though they didn't air it till the 10th episode.
Okay.
And Nimoy asked to change a line of dialogue in the script, and it was the idea of when they first see the Fesarius, the giant circular bright object, ship of the First Federation.
Yep.
I can't remember what the original line was, but Leonard Nimoy asked to change it to fascinating.
Yep.
And that became like the entire character basis of Mr. Spock going forward.
Yep. No, I agree. And there are moments in the first season where he does smile. I want to say even in the first Romulan story. What is that again?
Balance of Terror.
Balance of Terror. Shame on me. Like, yeah, when they're able to see what the Romulans look like, and that one racist crew member.
I always
looks back at Spock and he smiles. Yeah.
I always laugh in The Cage where there's that scene where Spock is calling Pike down on the planet with the video monitor.
Yes.
And he's like shouting. He was like, "Captain Pike, with the reports have come in," and you're like, "Shut up."
Or when on the bridge when they're trying to, or they're in the transfer room and they're trying to beam down, and it's only number one and Yeoman Colt. The women.
I don't want to talk about Discovery too much, but like
I understand.
I know they because I feel we talked it to death, but
it's cool.
I feel one of the things that I think that it was a missed opportunity, and I was really hoping they would do this because number one was in season 2 of Discovery.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think they finally confirmed her name as Una, which is one, but also that's a shout out to like a Trek novel, which I think is
that's
what
I thought. Yes.
Yeah. I really wanted her name to be Majel.
I can appreciate that. Sure.
Just a shout out to like to Majel Barrett. I really was like, they should make her Commander Majel. Now again, their choice is just fine, but like for me, like there was a little bit. I was like, call her Majel.
That's interesting. I hope that and it sounds like they are listening to the fans and how much we all want a Pike series.
Oh, that show's definitely happening. Come on.
Yeah, well, there you go. And I really hope that.
I mean, I know no official anything, but that show's definitely happening.
And it seems like it at the TCAs. The people in charge of CBS are certainly telegraphing that. But and now I forget what his name was. One of the blonde crewmen from the Cage pilot, Jose Tyler. I think it was Jose Tyler. So, yeah, I mean, I literally hope they really go through the cast list and that we get, versions of that original crew. And, I mean, God, and it would be great to see – wouldn't it be great to see a Dr. Boyce and have it be some great senior citizen actor like John Hoyt? I mean, John Hoyt was such a great character actor. I mean, from his Twilight Zone to the monster movies he made in the 50s, he's the mad scientist in Attack of the Puppet People from the 50s. He's a wonderful character actor, and he was so good in The Cage, and really different from McCoy, but also that father confessor that I think Captain Pike needs.
Doesn't he get Pike drunk in The Cage?
Well, he certainly he breaks out booze. He makes him a martini. Yeah, he makes him a martini to chill out, and it's like, look, you're bummed. Let's relax for a minute and tell me what's on your mind, man. And he confesses that he's burnt out.
I remember the first time I saw that, just thinking to myself, wow, this doctor is like prescribing just bourbon to this guy. Holy cow.
Well, that was that era when like Lou Grant on Mary Tyler Moore could still have the bottle of booze in his desk and he wasn't considered an alcoholic. Oh, yeah. I always say that like back then there were alcoholics portrayed, but then there were just boozers. Mm-hmm. And boozers were the guys that at 5 o'clock, okay, the work's done. All right, let's break out the booze because now we can relax and unwind. And they weren't, they didn't need it, but it was part of the way they relaxed. And I always said my father was part of that cocktail generation.
It's honestly a pure miracle that no episode of original series Star Trek just doesn't have Kirk flat out smoking. Seriously, like think about it. Like as much as they smoked back then, and there was pictures of all of them smoking in their uniforms. We're just lucky that they didn't just be like, come on, Gene, let us smoke.
Have you listened to Mark Altman's Inglorious Treksperts podcast?
Yes, I have. I was listening to their top 50 moments recently.
Oh, yeah, those were great. I love the guy. I think it's Darren Dockerman who does the Roddenberry imitation.
Oh, he's great.
Letter perfect Gene Roddenberry. It cracks me up. I love it. And I had that Inside Star Trek album as a kid. And I know you can, for people who don't know, the Roddenberry made this amazing vinyl album with his thoughts and a lot of convention speeches and also interviews with DeForest Kelley and Shatner. They're great. And
whoa, slow down. What
you don't
is
know this?
I don't know what this is. Tell me what it is so
Jason,
I can buy it.
I am so well. I don't know if you. I mean, it would be interesting to see on eBay how much vinyl goes for. But yeah, it was called. I want to say it was called Inside Star Trek. I'll look it up while we're talking to confirm. But yeah, it was this great album.
I feel like you just told me like the Magna Carta exists now. Like, this is insane.
You've never heard of the Ark of the Covenant?
No, I feel like you just dropped like the Rosetta Stone in my lap, and I'm like, what?
All right, I'm looking it up on YouTube.
I found it on YouTube.
You found it?
Yeah, it's fully on YouTube.
There you go, yes.
But I wonder if there's a way you can buy it.
The vinyl, yeah, I understand. Well, for people who are listening, there it is. It's right there, and yeah, it's only 26 minutes long, the whole album.
I'm going to listen to it on the way to work tomorrow, John. Thank you.
My pleasure. It's a lot of fun, and it really is Gene Roddenberry in his own voice explaining my philosophy about Star Trek. And
That's
I'm not even doing it, Joe. You know, dude, as you know, like I can't help but mimic people, and if I hear somebody close to my wheelhouse, I try to break down the DNA of the imitation. It's like, can I do that?
Mr. Roddenberry.
Yes.
I have a question for you. If we have ever gotten a season 4 of Star Trek, who was going to be the main villain?
Well, I feel that we spent enough time with the Klingons and really barely scratched the surface with the Romulans, and bringing them back in season 3, and also leaving the conflict of stealing the cloaking device could have been something that we pursued in season 4. But of course, you always want to make new aliens and new conflicts for the crew to ponder and learn and understand better.
Yes, I also heard you had an idea for where the Star Trek crew was going to stop the assassination of JFK.
All right, that's been overblown, but it was an idea that I considered, because wouldn't it be a different world if JFK had lived? And,
yeah.
So I love.
That's pretty good, John. That's really good.
It's all Darren Dockerman, man. I owe it all to Darren Dockerman. I want to get Altman on the podcast, and he every now and then will acknowledge something I say on Twitter. So I want to hey man, please come on.
It's funny. Speaking of Gene, I bought myself as like a Christmas gift the newly released novelization of Star Trek: The Motion Picture, written.
So did I.
By Gene Roddenberry.
Yes.
And I've been rereading it, and not only does it have scenes that are not in the movie, I've never read it before, but Gene Roddenberry's prose style is so interesting. And
Agreed.
The way that he saw the Federation is very intriguing and very different than what they did later in TNG and DS9 and stuff like that. And I almost think if you were interested in Star Trek, even if you've seen the motion picture, I would totally recommend reading. He almost his prose style is weirdly poetic for a sci-fi novel.
Yes, I agree. Very true, man. No, you're right about that.
I've been loving it.
Well, and I love seeing, he made that movie, or the pilot that didn't get picked up, Spectre, with Robert Culp and Gig Young, and it's kind of a supernatural Sherlock Holmes pastiche in modern day. Mm-hmm. But it's great, and a lot of his ideas, like Quester tapes, of course, was a really interesting thing, and certainly a lot of data came from Quester tapes and stuff. No, I think... Earth 2 and the other ones that he made, the ones with Alex Corden and John Saxon.
Were you talking about the Earth Final Conflict series? Those weird ones?
No, not that. It was these were two different 70s backdoor pilots that didn't get beyond the TV movies that were made. One even had Ted Cassidy in it. Lurch from the Addams Family.
Oh, wow.
And Mariette Hartley was in one of them as well. And it was basically like an Earthman of 20th century, kind of a Buck Rogers thing where he wakes up.
It sounds like Gary Seven almost, too.
There you go. It could, but it was more like modern day guy is frozen in suspended animation, wakes up, and of course it's a dystopian Earth, and women are now running things. That's the Mariette Hartley one, I believe. And it's either Alex Cord or John Saxon. They're two variations of the same idea. And then a lot of what they did wound up in Earth Final Conflict as well.
Did you ever watch the other sister series to that, Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda?
I know about Andromeda. I never did, but essentially I was curious to see that as well, because I can see similarities to that and what they're doing with Discovery, frankly.
I watched pieces of it.
Okay.
The first season's pretty good,
okay,
but you can tell a point in the show where Kevin Sorbo takes over, and it becomes when that happens, the show completely changes, and they ignore the serialized storyline that was actually pretty good about like sort of rebuilding this federation, and it just becomes Kevin Sorbo punching people for an hour. And that's when I renamed the show Kevin Sorbo's Action Hour with Aliens.
I was embarrassed in the 90s. He came to our sports station, and I'm like, Hercules. And I go, nice show. And I meant it in a positive way. And he kind of just face dropped. I'm like, no. I'm not shitting on you. I swear to God, I like Hercules. It's a funny show. He's like, oh, okay, cool.
There are some good episodes of Hercules. There are.
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely, man. No, it was a fun show. Absolutely. And that's why I'm like, no, dude, I'm not shitting on you. I swear to God, I like
Do you want to know who got their start on Hercules, The Legendary Journeys?
Tell me.
Alex Kurtzman.
Oh, there you go. That's interesting. Another, John Schulian, this interesting genre writer, who also wrote a great season of Wise Guy, the Ken Wall show.
Oh,
he was a sports writer here in Chicago before he became a dramatic screenwriter, and he created Xena. The two-parter on Hercules. He created it, so he was always an executive producer.
Let's just keep going down this rare and obscure television dive hole. Do you remember? Produced by Sam Raimi and all his partners there. Do you remember Jack of All Trades?
Of course, yes.
I argue that is the greatest TV theme song of all time, and if anybody out there listening to me doesn't know that theme song, go to YouTube right now and listen to that thing, because it is an earworm, and it will not leave your brain until your death.
I don't remember what it sounds like, so I look forward to hearing it and hearing it again, because I haven't thought about that show for 20 years. So yes.
They take the first two lines of the Marine hymn, and then they make it goofy.
Interesting.
So it has like the same beat as the Battle Hymn of the Republic and the Marine hymn.
Oh, because I was going to say, right? It was in the Marine hymn, like from the halls of Montezuma.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So that's how it starts.
So it's like a little bit of a It's like from the God. This is how I think I even know the words, man. It's like from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. Yeah, that's the Jack of All Trades song.
Hilarious. All right, now I got to hear it.
And if that doesn't get you to support my Kickstarter, then I don't know what will.
That's excellent, man. All right, now I'm watching the clock because I don't want to keep you longer than you can afford to hang out with me.
We can talk a little bit more. We can talk. It's all
right. Good. Because I want to know Beyond Jupiter Jet, and I'm thrilled for Volume 2, and I absolutely enjoyed the first volume. And
what did you think of the first issue? I sent it to you.
I have to confess, shame on me. I have not read the first issue of the new volume yet. Shame on me. I'm sorry.
Watching too many Hercules.
Exactly. No, I know. I'm sorry, man. I do apologize for that. I got to get all my SAG screener views in before I vote on Friday.
Oh.
Because I get my screeners. How about that, man? I don't get as many as the Writers Guild guys. I'm sure you're doing much better than I am in the screener world, but I'm happy with my couple dozen that I get. So it's okay.
I don't have the time to watch any of them. I wish.
Well, I still have to watch Bombshell, and I still have to watch of the stuff I got. Mm-hmm. And I still have to, believe it or not, I haven't made time for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yet, and I know I'll love it.
Oh, I enjoyed that one.
I'm looking forward to it, especially being the nerd, pop culture history buff that I am and stuff.
It's funny. So one of my favorite movies recently, and it ties into something else I'm working on, was 1917.
Really want to see it. Did not get a screener for it, but I definitely will see it before the Oscars.
Definitely go see it in the theaters.
Good to know.
Don't watch it on a small screen. It's kind of like Dunkirk. You need to see it on the big screen.
I completely understand, and that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, the trailers look amazing, and I love the idea. World War I is such a fascinating war in itself. So yeah, that's great to hear. They really pull off
the one shot. They really do it. And cool. It reminded me, because I'm working on this other thing. It's currently not with a publisher. I've been talking to some publishers, and if some publishers are listening to this, I'd love to pitch it to you. I'm working on a graphic novel memoir of my time in Iraq.
That's great, man. Wow.
And there were a couple things in 1917 where I was like, this must be just a universal truth for soldiers.
Wow.
That this sort of happens. Because there were I felt some kinship there. But, I've gotten to the point. So I was in Iraq in 2005. And the last time I was here, I talked about super soldiers.
Yeah, your book about all the great superhero. Yeah, all the great superheroes that have military backgrounds and everything. Absolutely.
Yeah, and the thing that everybody responded to in that were all of my personal stories. And so I decided, I was like, I need to just write them down. I need to like actually
That's great, Chase.
make them. And it's a fictionalized version because I didn't want to name the main character myself.
I understand.
So I changed the name of all the people in it. But right now it's I'm calling it Little Soldier.
Okay.
And it's about an American soldier who befriends a 10-year-old Iraqi boy. And kind of how the two of these characters like sort of help each other through basically a year in the Iraq War, like through 2005, which was the beginning of like all the IEDs and everything like that.
Yeah.
And it's very tough. It's been bringing back a lot of those old feelings, you know, like going back to 2005 and feeling like the way I felt there because I did meet like a little boy there, and he's sort of like, you know, helping him and helping his family. And I know a lot of people are probably making the argument right now. We're like, the American soldiers didn't help Iraq at all. And, you know, maybe not on a wide scale we didn't, but I think on a personal scale, we hurt some people, yes. Totally true. You have to admit it. But we also, like, I think helped some people. And this is the story of, like, just two, an Iraqi and an American, and how they sort of, like, helped each other over the year and, like, how they changed each other. And that's sort of, like, the broad basis of it. And I luckily, my artist is this amazing dude named Jason Pittman.
Okay.
And he is also an Army vet.
Oh, wow.
So right now we're working on it right now. Like, it's our goal to have it done by the end of this year. And like, because the first like 5 pages are done. The first like 5 to 10 pages I think are complete. I think he's working on that. But
cool.
I'd love to team up with somebody like and you know throw it out there because I think there's something there. I think every time I've shown somebody the pages, they've been like, wow. And I don't say that to like toot my own horn. I say that because for me, I look at my experience over there and I'm kind of like, nobody cares. Nobody cares. And so like every time that somebody sees something like that or gets one of my stories, and they react to it, I'm like, oh, maybe people do care. Because to me, you know, again, I think nobody cares. But it's nice to know that people care.
I think and again, this is the layman that's back in the States observing all this stuff happening overseas as much as we can, but also the personal stories that either come out through documentaries or Sheriff of Baghdad with Tom King and things like that. It's so much more complicated. And I do think that both Iraq wars and also the really well-intended attempts that I think the American soldiers made to help people like you're describing and stuff. No, I think that's fascinating and legitimate. And no, I think again we only got the broad strokes and very a very controlled message of what was going on. And really, you're right. I don't think we do know those stories, and I think it's important to hear those because I think those kind of one-on-one human connections make us all realize that it's like we're not that different, and we can help each other, and it can be a positive thing. In terms of the ultimate goal of just helping people become free and also getting to know each other. And it's really sad that we're at the moment that we are right now in the last couple of weeks with what's happened. It's just tragic. And especially, I think, again, without getting into heavy politics, that it really seems like before the riots and everything else, that it did seem like the Iranian people were, in the case of Iran, were certainly, not angry at the American people. And even since the incidents, you've heard people on the street say, we're not hating the American people, we just don't like what the government is doing. And then, of course, their own government, and the byproduct of what has now happened as well in Baghdad and Iraq. I mean, it's...
Oh, yeah.
I can't imagine.
It's one of those things, as a person who has been to the border of Iraq and Iran, that's definitely a region of the world that I think America should not be involved with, and we should just not be there. Is my big statement. I actually was when that was all sort of heating up, and it kind of seems like it's maybe going down.
It seems like it. Hopefully,
hopefully it goes away. But I was getting a little worried because I definitely didn't want any of our brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, like going over there now.
I hear you,
or back to that region, which we should be totally done with at this point.
You would think, and I understand, and I think I've made this analogy to you before. Being a Greek person, knowing what happened in the post-World War II years,
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of similarities of what happened with Iraq in terms of what happened with Greece and Turkey during the Marshall Plan and during those initial post-war years. And again, I say this as a layman that only studies what I've read in books and what I've seen in documentaries and things. But, yeesh. So, well, I hope you do get a chance to make this.
I hope so too, because again, this will be a one shot, and I'm really happy with it. Remind me, I'll send you the pages. I'll send it to you, like what we have.
It'd be my pleasure. All right, good deal. No, and like I said, I'm sorry I didn't read that first issue.
Oh, it's all good, man. It's all good.
So, but I am happy to help you promote and everything, and also with Super, like, are there a lot of the people that bought the first volume of Jupiter Jet? Did they follow you on to Super Soldiers and things like that? Thing, but
that's the greatest thing about doing Kickstarter comics, and that's one of the things I love about doing Kickstarter comics, is that our audience, like from Jupiter Jet 1, followed us to the next one, which was Science. Like, cause
yes, of course,
we like right out the gate, we didn't want to do the sequel to Jupiter Jet.
Yeah.
We wanted to do something else, and we took the Christopher Nolan approach, as I say. You're gonna do Batman Begins, then you go do a little Prestige, then you come back to Dark Knight. Then you go do Inception. Then you come back and you wonder what the hell is going on with Bane and Dark Knight Rises. So I'm very excited for everybody out there to get to our Dark Knight Rises, because it's going to be bonkers. It's going to be about clowns and dogs. Just, that's the title.
True?
Clowns and dogs. No. No, it's not. Although maybe I should write that down, because if I get a bunch of tweets after this where people are like, hey, how's that clowns and dogs coming?
You never know, man. Exactly. Jesus, you got to watch where you sound, Wordful, and sometimes they do expect.
That's true. But no, it's great, dude. Like, they fall. Like, no, I have an amazing audience. I like to call them super friends.
I understand. Yes.
They've come along. They all came to Super Soldiers. I had a lot of veterans. I had a lot of people buy Super Soldiers for their dad or their mom that had served over Christmas, and I felt very honored by that, because my toughest audience with that book and my toughest audience with, Little Soldier coming along is going to be veterans. And the fact that other veterans are like totally down with it, it's totally cool. So, I don't know. I think if you like any of my past stuff, I think you'll love Jupiter Jet and the Forgotten Radio. I think, I like to say I have a tone through most of my stuff,
Understood.
We'll see. Trying different stuff.
Well, honestly, man, that your Geek History Lesson podcast that you and Ash do, and everything you guys have done with your YouTube channel, you've cultivated this great audience. And truly, man, I consider you a great peer in terms of putting out tremendous content. Well, you're kind to say that, but honestly, especially given our age difference as well. But that has been one of the great delights of the last couple of years, was meeting you guys and getting to know you a bit better and really enjoying what you guys have been doing. So, as always, continued success, and I certainly hope this graphic novel pans out and you're able to get Kickstarter interest in that. But right now, the concern is for Jupiter Jet Volume 2, and it opens on Kickstarter on Tuesday.
On Tuesday, January 21st, you go to jupiterjetcomic.com. You can be there. Real quick, I want to shout out a couple things, because I think this is cool. So one of the cool things we do on our Kickstarters, we always like to do stuff where we can help educate you about certain things about comic books. We can give you some expertise, because we found that's a big thing out there. People are always like, how do you make your first comic book?
Sure.
It's the whole reason why we made our podcast educational, even though it's basically pop culture and doing stupid Doctor Strange impressions. But it's educational first. So we have some rewards on our Kickstarter where you can get script reviews from people or portfolio reviews from them.
Hey, that's great.
So Mitch Garrett's
wonderful.
Has always donated an amazing script review for us. So you can have 6 pages of your artwork reviewed by Eisner Award-winning, future Eisner Award-winning for a second time for Strange Adventures, Mitch Garrett's.
Yeah, I have a feeling. Exactly.
We also have Steve Lieber from the amazing Superman's pal.
Hey, that's
Nelson.
great. I love Steve. That's fantastic.
Steve is so criminally underrated, man. I remember when he sent me Jimmy Olsen 1 before it published, and I literally I literally said to him, I was like, dude, they should just give you all the awards right now because this is such a fun book.
It's so much fun. I agree. And he keeps putting me off. He's like, wait for the trade to come out and then I'll talk. I'm like, okay, fine. And I'm like, all right, I'll bug Fraction in the meantime. It'll be fun.
And then the last one that's really big to me, because I've been a humongous fan of this guy for so long, is I somehow tricked, bullied, begged until he said yes. Joseph Malozzi, he was the executive producer / creator of Dark Matter. He worked on Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, and Stargate Universe.
Yes, of course. Yes. Yeah, I know that name on the credits. Absolutely.
Yeah, he is a fantastic human being, and he also agreed to do a script review for us as well. So if any of those sound interesting to you, if you want to learn, then I know like the Joseph Malozzi one's going to go fast. So Tuesday, January 21st, JupiterJetComic.com will take you right to our page. You'll help support the sequel for Jupiter Jet, our all-ages comic book, and you'll have my gratitude forever.
That's amazing, man. No, I'm really glad you got those, and I think that's a great idea for incentives to have that kind of, smart creator being able to give people tips, because I agree with you. I think, especially in the Kickstarter community and the GoFundMe communities and everything, everyone is making their first comics, and they do need that kind of feedback, so that's wonderful.
It helps
Good all-star group, man.
It helps out. Yeah, we have a lot of other people. We have David Bohr from Kanto. There's a bunch of other ones on there.
Cool.
We hope hope you come over and check it out. Yep, we want to make 5 of these.
I understand. No, I totally understand. And again, I think you're smart to build your library beyond Jupiter Jet and do things like science and your Army graphic novel that you're working on as well. So that's true. And Super Soldiers.
And don't forget Dogs and Clowns apparently coming soon.
Dogs and Clowns coming soon. And Ashley's doing all right?
What's that?
Ashley's doing all right?
Oh, she's great, man. She's opening a play. Oh, I should promote
Hey, that's great.
She's opening a play very, very soon. It's a dream play, and it's in Los Angeles, as I'm furiously Googling to find the... it's at the Wallace Annenberg Center in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And it opens... Oh, I forgot the date. It opens in February.
Cool.
So it opens, I believe it opens February 22nd or something like that.
Do you know the title? Sorry.
Because it's a dream play. And also in my defense, I don't want to sound like a terrible husband. They've changed it a couple of times.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because it's a brand new... It's Lucid. There we go.
Okay.
It's Lucid. It opens February 20th. So if you're in the L.A. area... go check out Ashley Victoria Robinson because she's always great. And
yes, she is. No,
a bunch
that's
of other
terrific.
Great actors, but they did it inspired by Strindberg's Dream Play.
Wow, impressive.
So should be pretty good. I know there's a lot of movement in it, and I know the cast is pretty good looking. I've seen their pictures. So if you like looking at good people on stage, then I would highly recommend going to see Lucid.
Well, Ash fits in nicely then. That's very good, man. That's lovely. Yep. Very cool, man. No, I honestly, you guys are always an inspiration to me in terms of your organization.
What? Oh, come on, dude.
Oh no, man. You guys always have good irons in the fire, and you're always thinking and creating, and I think you're doing a great job. And I always wish you the best, and I'm happy to help promote your works because you guys do interesting stuff.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. I gotta say, I always have a good time if we're going to spend the first 20 minutes deep diving into late night broadcast television. Love it.
There you go, Jason Inman. Check out Jupiter Jet Volume 2. The Kickstarter is just underway, and it's a fun campaign. It's a great book. You'll tell from the art that you can see right there on the Kickstarter page. But it's a great concept, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a great book to share with a younger audience as well. But very funny stuff from Ashley Robinson and our buddy Jason Inman. Check it out. Check out his book, Super Soldiers, if you haven't already in the past. And their wonderful book, Science. I always have to say it like the Thomas Dolby song, She Blinded Me with Science. Good stuff, man. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Word Balloon. Even some Star Trek talk. Can't help it. Very excited. Nervous, but excited about Star Trek Picard. The way everybody was for Rise of Skywalker, That's how I get about Star Trek. I'm sorry. This is, I'm betraying my age. I love Star Wars, don't get me wrong. But, for me, Christmas Day is anytime there's new Star Trek product. Even Discovery. I'm still even happy to watch Discovery, even though I get frustrated with it as I do. But anyway, check out Jason's great stuff and Jupiter Jet Volume 2 on Kickstarter. Hope you enjoyed today's Word Balloon. It was brought to you by Aftershock Comics. They've got some great books that are going to start premiering next month in February. John Layman's The Man Who Effed Up Time. You know John, wonderful work on Chew, and now a brand new book. Can't wait to talk to him about that. Also, Zach Thompson's Undone by Blood, God Killers by Mark Sable. And they're going to go along with the great roster of great Aftershock books like Donny Cates and Gary Brown's Baby Teeth. I was going to say Animosity, but that's Marguerite Bennett and Raphael De La Tour. There's also, Dark Red from Tim Seeley and Dark Ark from Cullen Bunn and Juan Doe. Night Temporal and wonderful books from Phil Hester and Paul Jenkins, Brian Azzarello. Even The Art of Jim Starling is under the Aftershock banner and worthy of your attention. Don't take my word for it. Go to their website. You'll find full story descriptions, art pages of previews, and how to get these stories through your local shop with the diamond codes at AftershockComics.com. Thanks again for listening to Word Balloon. We got more to come this week. I'm not slowing down. I'm sorry. I know it's been a weird month in January. I've had a little personal things get in the way. Everything's fine. Almost done with the recovery from last year's infection, which is great. And I will be at C2E2 in a few weeks. Can't wait to tell you about some of the panels that I'm doing there. And great interviews still to come before January wraps up and right into February. So make sure you join us right here at Word Balloon. Until next time, thanks for listening. Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2020.